Welcome to our series of BinSense installation videos. In this video, we'll look at how to start up a BinSense live site. We recommend watching through this video before installing units on a site, as you'll likely be able to do a few of these steps throughout the installation process to save some time and make the startup process smooth. When starting up a BinSense live site, it's important to make sure all the units are on the same radio channel. Most of the time, you can leave master and remote units on the default radio channel, but it's a good idea to switch to a different channel if you know there are other BinSense systems running within about 2 kilometers. Radio channels 12 through 23 are available with the default channel being 23. To set the radio channel, use a small flat screwdriver to change the individual switches to match the pattern of the desired channel as shown in this diagram. The transparent yellow film covering the switches can be removed, or you can push through it with the screwdriver. With all the devices on the same radio channel, the next step is to get the master unit to communicate with the BinSense servers. During this communication, the BinSense servers will send the master unit a list of all the remote unit's serial number it needs to communicate with. To start the first call in to the BinSense servers, power on the master unit, as described in our previous video on setting up master and remote units. Once the master unit diagnostic LED stops blinking, press and hold the scan button for 6 seconds. The LED should turn green, and then after a few seconds, turn pale blue, and then go back to green. You'll see the modem status LED will begin blinking. The modem status LED and diagnostic LED will both turn off once the call-in is complete. Once the first call-in is complete, the master unit is loaded with the serial numbers of its remote units and is ready to connect to remote units. When a master unit is powered up, it can enter normal mode or listener mode, depending on whether there are remote units associated. When starting up in normal mode, the master unit will read the attached cables, perform the diagnostic LED blinking pattern, and then start communicating with remote units. Listener mode allows a master unit to reconnect to a running BinSense live site if the master unit power is interrupted. A master unit will start up listener mode when it has remote units associated and was previously operating normally. In listener mode, the diagnostic LED will blink green once per second, and the master unit will listen for wireless signals from remote units still running on the site. If the master unit detects a remote unit while in listener mode, it will enter normal mode and continue communicating with remote units normally. Sometimes a master unit may start running in listener mode when you want it in normal mode. If this happens, power off the master unit by disconnecting the master unit solar panels and battery. With the power off, press and hold the scan button. Continue to hold the scan button and reconnect the master unit battery. The diagnostic LED will light up solid green. Wait 5 seconds, then release the scan button. While the diagnostic LED is flashing rapid green, press and release the scan button, and the master unit will enter normal mode. Remember to reconnect the solar panels afterwards. When starting up a BinSense live site and connecting remote units to the master unit, it's important to minimize the time remote units spend waiting to connect to the master unit to maximize battery life. The most efficient method, but often least practical, is to power on all the remote units at roughly the same time and then power on the master unit in normal mode as soon as possible. Once all the remote units are powered on, since the master unit starts connecting to remote units shortly after powering on, remote units spend very little time waiting for the master unit. This is effective on small sites where all the remote units are close together and easily accessible, but doesn't work well on larger sites or when each bin must be climbed to access the remote units. On most large sites, the best method is to first install and power on the master unit in normal mode, and then power on each remote unit as it is installed. Every hour when the master begins communication with remote units, it will connect to any new remote units powered on in the last hour. This method works well on large sites that require numerous hours to install the BinSense live system, as each remote unit must only be handled once during the installation process, and remote units connect to the master unit within an hour of being powered on. Once all the remote units are connected and calling in normally, you can transfer the site over to the customer from the BinSense dashboard, and they are ready to monitor.